What is up, guys? Fulgor here, and I'm bringing a commentary on Gears of War 3. It's been a while, I know, and this is King of the Hill, Untrashable, and I'm gonna show you guys how to use the Mulcher. This gun, oh my god, I love the Mulcher now. I never really paid attention to it, but this gun now is awesome to me, and yeah, blowing up people like a boss. So yeah, what I will. You guys know that for the Forces of Nature map I came out recently, and I didn't really touch on the subject. I just played the maps. I kept uploading and playing with friends, and I didn't really talk about the maps. So I mean, at this point, we all know the maps. We all play the maps. In my opinion, the best two maps of that map pack are Raven Down and Cove, and that's pretty much all I have to say about the map pack. Overall, pretty badass. But I started to think, and I noticed that during every map pack, Epic keeps bringing that. Let's say it brings back two old maps, and it gives us two new maps. Now, personally, I like this. It gives us something we like and we feel nostalgic about, and at the same time, it gives us something new. So I started to think, what would be good maps for Epic to start developing on the next map pack. Now, I am gonna talk briefly about old maps, but overall, I wanna focus more on the differences between Gears of War 1, Gears of War 2 maps, and Gears of War 3 maps. Now, I'm gonna start on Gears of War 1 and move on to Gears of War 2, and like that, in chronological order. So stick with me on this one. Gears of War 1. Gears of War 1 had so many cool maps. It's probably, you have a Process, you had Garden, you have Raventown. It had a lot of good maps. In my opinion, probably the best game in the trilogy when it came to maps. Gears of War 2 was okay, Gears of War 3, it's okay. Now, they should bring back, definitely hands down, and I don't think anybody will argue this, War Machine. War Machine is probably the coolest map in Gears of War 1. Personally, my favorite, simply because there's only one sniper, and you gotta fight for that shit, and you will die trying to get that sniper, but there's nothing satisfying than wall bouncing, killing 3 people, picking up the sniper, and then getting 2 headshots. I don't know why that is so awesome to me. It feels, you feel good inside. You feel like a boss. And overall, War Machine is the shit. I don't excuse my French, but I don't know, I just really like that map. Gears of War 1 also had a very interesting map called Garden. For those of you who haven't played Garden, Garden was unique in its own way, and it was one of the maps that fall within the category of interactive maps. The thing about Garden is, as soon as you spawned, you had the snipers right there, literally 10 feet away from the spawn. But there was a trick to it. Garden, as the name suggests, it takes place in a beach. No, it takes place in a garden, obviously. And the reason why you couldn't get the snipers is because they were inside these chambers filled with pesticides to protect the plants or something. And what you had to do is actually skip by the snipers, go to the middle of the map, and turn off the switch that would turn off the pesticides, and then you could get the sniper. So pretty much the layout and the way the map was designed is you had to fight in order to get the sniper. So it forced the players to use Nasher, and it encouraged it in a way. Gears of War 1 also had a Raven Down, which we have today in Gears of War 3, and I'm very glad we do, because it's quickly becoming one of my favorite maps. And it also had a couple of okay maps, which include Bullet March. Now, the thing about Bullet March is it was also an interactive map, and it brought the Krill. Now, what people didn't like about the Crow in Gears of War 1 is that you couldn't really control it. Let's say you were trying to run away from an enemy and you accidentally jumped in a dark corner of the map. You were gone. You were dead. The Krill would just attack you, which is why in Gears of War 3 they included this transformer electricity thingy that you can now control the actions of the Krill. But it's still an okay map. The layout itself is not bad, but people don't like it because it's dark, and I don't know. It's just it was an okay map. It never really became one of the best maps. Then Gears of War 2. Gears of War 2 has some sick maps, but some very bad maps. When we talk about bad maps in Gears 2, Stasis. Oh my God, Stasis is the most horrifying thing in the history of maps. I hate that map with all my life, and I hope they never bring it back. If Epic for some crazy ass reason decide to bring Stasis back, I won't buy that map pack. But it did have some cool failure. But it did have some cool maps, which range between like security and river, and I don't know. Let's just run through the list real quick. Now, first of all, security, close quarter combat, natural gameplay was encouraged, and the cool thing about it is, once again, it's an interactive map. So you were forced to constantly press this switches around the map to turn off these lasers, which gave you access to the rest of the map and even power weapons. So it required a lot of strategy, and you had to somehow outsmart the other team and get the power weapons. And it was very interesting. And in my opinion, it's still pretty cool. It's still one of my favorite maps to play. Now, Gears of War 2 also had some good maps, like Pavilion, another small close quarter combat map. Natural gameplay, once again, was encouraged, and it was very fun to play, especially when you were playing Guardian, because the Guardian couldn't really camp or hide. They had to go out there and try to survive. So that was pretty cool as well. Now you also have River's very it's very like Canals in a way. Oh, Canals, they should also bring back Canals. It's like Canals because you have the sniper on each side, and then the first one to get to the sniper might get a headshot on the second one, and then you gotta go to the middle of the map. Overall, it was a very fun map. And also Jacinto. Now, before I talk about Jacinto, let's just make something very clear. Gears of War 1, natural gameplay was not really encouraged by the layout of the map by any means, but it was more encouraged by the players. When you were on a one-on-one situation, you saw people melee all the time to kind of challenge you to a shotgun battle, and that declare who was the better man. It was the people chose that natural gameplay was the most fun, and overall, all of the kills, or at least most of the kills, were related to the natural. So it was very, very close quarter combat. It was very it was very fun to play. It involved wall bouncing a lot, and it was just overall my favorite Gears of War game because of it. Now, Gears of War 2 didn't really deviate too far from Gears of War 1. But the thing they did wrong with Gears of War 2 is they tried to slow down the gameplay. So the natural was slower, the fire rate was slower, the characters were slower, and they wanted to kind of slow down and have the players battle for a bit longer. Now that didn't really work out, especially with the connection issues that Gears of War 2 had. So they decided a different approach. They decided to take a different approach in Gears of War 3. With the introduction of Team Deathmatch in Gears of War 3, I guess that term it's related to Call of Duty, and in conjunction with that, the primary weapons of the characters, like the Hammer Burst, the Lancer, and the Wretched Lancer, they kind of gave them a damage boost, and they encouraged people to use the cover system. As a result, Gears of War 3 now is a game that relies highly on going behind cover, suppressing the enemy, flanking, and overall working as a team, which is why Epic Games hasn't included a free-for-all match, even though they should. Just saying. And now we go back to Jacinto. Now, with those differences in mind, Jacinto was modified geographically to basically fit the needs of Gears of War 3 players. When you look at Jacinto from Gears of War 2, the way you played it, especially in Guardian, is you try to get to the towers which were fairly close to the spawns, get the nades, tag them, and then set up base there. That's how you survive during Guardian in Gears of War 2. And most of the time, that's how you survive in execution when you were the last man and you wanted a clutch or something. You go on those towers, set up nades, and then you were good to go. Now, for Gears of War 3, this wasn't going to work out. I mean, camping has never been encouraged by Epic Games, and they wanted to keep the game moving. They wanted to encourage flanking strategies, and as a result, they changed the layout of the map. Now, this means that the accessibility of the towers were were changed basically. Now you can go from the bottom, you can go up the stairs. I don't know. If you know the map, you know what I'm talking about. And as a result, there's no more camping in the map, which I think is cool and it's very good. It's a very good strategy. Now going back to the maps that they should do, there's not a lot of original maps that I've seen so far. I mean, Azura is probably the most original. Well, I wouldn't say the most original, but it was one of my favorites. And even when you look at Azura, all I can think of is well, canals, just because it's very similar to it. You got the sniper on each end. Most of the fighting occurs in the middle, and then you got the boom shot and or digger in the center. So it's in my head. When I see Azura, I see canals. Now, what they should do is bring new maps, but using the concept art for some of the maps I've already used. Like, let's take as an example Overpass. Overpass, the layout of Overpass is personally not my favorite one. I mean, when you're playing Team Deathmatch, it's basically like the team who gets on top gets on that turret, and the people who have hammer bursts just get up there, and it becomes a nightmare to try to flush the team out of that place. It's just painful, and it takes a lot of work, and it's very annoying. So the map itself is not good. What's good about the map is that it's visually striking. When you look at the map, you see the environment changing around you, and that immerses the player in the Gears of War world. And I think that's pretty cool, and I'm glad they did that. But now what they should do is use that same strategy, but on different maps. Let's take, for instance, Ruslan. Ruslan, it's a map based on the Gears of War 3 campaign, the Raven's Nest, if I'm not mistaken, but it takes inside the ship. They should do a map where it's on the deck of the ship, and the ship just moves along. You can even put lambent pods growing around the ship. That'd be pretty cool. Now, probably my least favorite map in Gears of War 3 is Mercy. Mercy, Gears of War relies a lot on the cover system, and Mercy, there's not a lot of cover. I mean, getting to that torque bow or that digger, it's a pain in the ass. All of you who play Gears of War know what I'm talking about. So what they should do is go back to the campaign, because when you play Mercy in the campaign, it's very different from the multiplayer. You can even make a map based on the sewers, and that's an idea. Like, make a map based on the sewers of Mercy. It will look cool. I mean, it certainly looks very kind of dark and gloomy, but at the same time, it reminds me a lot of Gears of War 1 for some reason. Well, I guess, yeah, Gears of War 1 was very depressing, in my opinion. I'm kind of glad that Gears of War 3 is more colorful in the way the maps are crafted. Now, another map they could also do is on a gas barge. They could create a giant gas barge like the ones in the campaign, except bigger. And as the gas barge moves along, you can see the landscape changing. That'd be pretty cool. Now, I do know that they doing the programming and design and concept art for these maps isn't as easy as it sounds. I mean, I make it sound easier. It's like, oh, here's an idea and I'll do it. No, I know it doesn't work like that, but it'd be something cool. I mean, I am willing to wait 8 months for a map pack with cool maps like that, because it's worth it. It gives you a sense that you the money you're paying for it's worth it. I mean, when I bought Forces of Nature, I bought it thinking about the new maps, and I was glad that they brought back Raven Down. But at the same time, I felt like I was already paying for Raven Down like the third time, because I already had it in Gears 2, I played it in Gears 1. So in a way, you feel like you're getting ripped off. And the way to avoid this is to make new fresh maps that nobody has seen yet. And I don't know, it would make the customers happy. I mean, that's all I got. That's all I'm saying.